Video games are no stranger to getting film and TV adaptations. They're also no stranger to having terrible TV and film adaptations. So, I shouldn't have to tell you how sad it is to watch something you love be torn apart and put back together again as some sort of Frankenstein's monster. Sure, it looks like the thing you know, but that's about it. For those of you who have been following my videos, first of all, thank you, and second, you'll know that I'm going to be slowly covering video game movies, starting with the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie. Well, I watched that film rather recently, and I was getting ready to start work on the video when the Fallout TV show dropped. So, I did what any self-respecting, hard-working person would do, and that was to ignore all my work, grab a Dr. Pepper, kick back on the couch, and watch roughly 8-ish hours of the show until about 5 a.m. in the morning. Productivity! After watching the show, climbing into bed, and then spending the next hour thinking about what I had just watched, I found myself rather happy. You see, the cold hard truth is, I was worried. I had heard rumors about the TV show being in the works, and I remember seeing some sort of leaked set pictures, but I honestly didn't pay much attention to it. That was until the first trailer came out. The trailer left me feeling hopeful, but highly cautious. As I said earlier, game adaptations don't often do good jobs, especially watching the very first video game movie. Yeah, I was feeling a little bit worried. These feelings of mine didn't really change since I had heard that they, changed around the release date. They moved it forwards and then they moved it backwards, and I think at one point they said that they were going to release it weekly, but then they took it back and said that they were just dropping it all at once, so my fears were growing. I felt it best to keep myself in the dark going forward. I didn't want trailers or images to spoil anything for me or anybody else's opinions to sort of color what I was thinking, or you know what I mean. I went out of my way to avoid anything and everything Fallout related. Eventually, on the 10th of April at 6 p.m, the show dropped like a bomb on Amazon Prime, and I was ready. And by ready, I of course mean I was busy and I couldn't watch the show until about 9 or 10 or something like that, at nighttime. But when I did finally sit down to watch it and I turned on the TV, what awaited me was, well, joy. And now I want to tell you a little bit about that. I actually wasn't going to cover the show at all. I figured the last thing you'd want is more Fallout in your YouTube feed, but I put out a poll and it seems like you do want more Fallout in your feed, so here we are. If you're new here or a hardcore Lycanite TV veteran, I should quickly go over what to expect here. Normally, I cover video games, and when I do, I often retell the game's main story and spoil, the whole thing. But since this is such a very brand new thing, and let's face it, Amazon would come down on me like a mini nuke if I showed, each and every episode, spoiling all of it, and so on and so forth. So I've decided to just summarize the entire show and not spoil anything for everybody. If I do, however, end up needing to spoil something, I'll be giving you plenty of warning and adding timestamps for you if you do want to skip ahead and avoid those spoilers. So, for those of you hoping for a 5-hour-long video in which I recap all 8 episodes, sorry. Maybe in the future I'll return and do a proper breakdown, but just for now, let's play it safe, okay? So, with that all said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. isn't told through the eyes of just one person. It's broken up into, more or less, 3 stories. The first person we're introduced to is the vault dweller Lucy. Everything was perfect until one day her life got turned upside down as a group of raiders break into Vault 33, cause mayhem and madness, and kidnap her father. She then takes it upon herself to exit the safety and comfort of the vault, used to be safety and comfort of the vault, and travel out into the Californian wasteland to search for her father. The second point of view is told from the Brotherhood of Steel aspirant Maximus, and I think aspirant is a new rank in the Brotherhood of Steel. They're kind of like students, like, rookies, but not quite rookies, I guess. I think that's a new thing. I could be wrong, but there you go. Aspirant. He has high hopes for himself and his future. Eventually, he and a knight named Titus from the Brotherhood of Steel will be sent out across the wasteland and in search of an Enclave defector who carries with him a very powerful and secret item. But they aren't the only people searching for this Enclave defector, and that brings us over to the third protagonist, bounty hunter and wasteland veteran, the Ghoul, who is a ghoul. The Ghoul is the very embodiment of been there, done that. He trusts nobody and is only out to serve himself. Or is he? You see, the Ghoul's story is actually broken into 2 parts, 2 separate stories. The current day Wasteland, and his old life, the pre-war life, before the bombs fell. Still, in the present day, he is hunting down the same target as the Brotherhood of Steel. Eventually, all of these stories will collide together into one, and all 3 will learn that things are bigger than they all thought. Now, I said that there were 3 stories more or less going on at once, but there is more, hence why I said it. And I honestly feel like I'm a little bit crazy on this one, since I haven't actually heard too many people talk about it. They just talk about the, Lucy, Maximus, and the Ghoul, and they kind of leave out other things, but there is a 4th rather important story going on, and that is with Lucy's brother, Norm. While Lucy is out and about, in the Wasteland, he is back in Vault 33, where he begins to unravel a mystery about the vault itself. And if you know Fallout and Vault Tech, you'll kind of see where I'm going with this. Things aren't what they seem. And quite frankly, it does a fantastic job of depicting vault life, shall we say. But let's just leave it at that and move on. That was, of course, a stupidly condensed summary of the show, but you get the rough gist of things. You'll get to see things from different points of view and see how each character deals with any given situation and grows from it. Lucy wants to see the good in people. Maximus already knows how brutal the world can be, but still wants to make things better for not only himself, but others as well. And the Ghoul is a hardened guy who doesn't really care much about anything or anyone, only himself. At first, I kind of found myself enjoying Lucy's story and not so much Maximus's story. I'm not sure why he didn't click with me at first, at least in the first episode, but by the second episode, I really began to, shine to him and began to enjoy his story as well. And as for the Ghoul, well, I loved him from the moment he appeared. I guess I enjoy dark, brooding characters with a mysterious past. I don't know, he's kind of like a chaotic neutral character, I guess? Maybe not chaotic neutral, but you get what I'm trying to say. The story is also being told with the Ghoul, as I said, from before when the bombs dropped. So seeing the two two sides of him was actually really cool and had me wanting more. Overall, the story is really good, and the only issue I have with it is just how short it is. It's only got 8 episodes. For some reason I thought it had 10, so I went in with the mindset of thinking it was 10, but doesn't matter. I found myself wanting at least another 2 episodes. I don't know what it is with modern streaming shows getting around 7 or 12 episodes before just calling it quits, but man, I really dislike that. Maybe it's just me, but I really feel like the show never fully gets a chance to really breathe, you know what I mean? Still, at 8 episodes, the pace is very snappy, and you can never really linger on anything for too long, even if you wish it would. But does this show capture the essence of a Fallout game? You betcha butt it does. It really feels like one of the games come to life. The tone shifts a lot as well, going from serious to dark comedy at the drop of a hat, which the video games, as I'm sure you're aware of, have a lot of, especially the second game in the series, which just had a lot of like rapid fire jokes and fourth wall breaking stuff. But if I had to say which game it's the closest to, I would have to say it's Fallout 3 with mostly a Fallout 4 coat of paint, and yet it has hints of the first game in the series. At least that's how I felt. I'm sure somebody with a deeper knowledge would highly disagree with me, but again, this is just how I personally felt. I think if you probably didn't really enjoy Fallout 4, you might not fully enjoy this show. That's the kind of vibe I was getting. It's very, like I said, it's kind of like early Fallout 3, the vibe, but it all looks like Fallout 4, if that makes sense. Yeah, anyway. Now, with that out of the way, I also have to say that the show flawlessly jumps between each person. You never really feel lost or confused. Everything flows nicely. Although, if you are like me, you will find yourself, you'll find it a little bit jarring in the first episode, but after that, it flows really nicely and you get used to it. This isn't a Witcher season 1 type deal, where you're kind of like, what is going on? What? You know, it's not like that at all. So, I hope that puts your mind at ease. Now, of course, I could go on, but I won't. In fact, I want to end this segment talking about what I found to be the perfect scene in the show. To talk about this scene, however, I am 100% going to spoil some of the story. I mean, it's light spoilers for the story, but if you haven't seen episode 4 just yet, you may want to skip ahead, just to be on the safe side, and I'll just give you a quick second to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there you go. All right. So, at this point in the show, Lucy has been captured by the ghoul, since only she knows the location of the thing everybody's looking for. However, in their time together, Lucy accidentally destroys some chems he needs to avoid turning feral, which I honestly don't really remember this chem in any of the games or the lore, but if you do know what it is or where it appears or anything like that, would you please kindly let me know in the comments below? Because I've been racking my brain trying to figure it out, and I still can't figure out what that chem is or where it was even mentioned, even looking online for the answer. So if you would be so kind, please let me know. Please put my mind at ease. And I swear I'm not begging for comments, like how YouTubers do it. I am genuinely racking my brain figuring this out. So please help me put my mind at ease. Anyway, the two go in search for the chems he needs, which takes the ghoul and Lucy to an old med clinic. Inside the clinic is another ghoul who is in the process of becoming feral, and desperately clinging on to his own humanity by repeating his own name, Roger. And by the way, might I just say, this moment with a ghoul turning feral, I don't think I've ever seen that in the games before, but it is pulled off beautifully here. Just a quick side note. It appears that this near-feral ghoul was also here looking for the same chems that our ghoul is looking for, but sadly, there isn't any here anymore, and if there was, they're now gone. Lucy can't quite grasp what's going on since this is all new to her, but the ghoul casually chats with Roger. The two talk about a few things, but mostly about this mysterious chem. Roger asks the ghoul if he has any, and if he has, if he could have some, but the ghoul tells him he has none. In fact, that's why he's here searching for some. Roger at this point downplays his sadness, knowing deep down that he is most likely going to become completely feral now. At that moment, the ghoul turns to Roger and asks him if he remembers all the great pre-war food, which makes Roger pause for a moment, laugh, and begin to remember all the tasty things he loved. Roger then turns to Lucy with a smile and begins to explain to her about how his mother used to cook something when, without warning, the ghoul shoots Roger in the head, killing him instantly mid-sentence. Lucy flips out, she gets angry with the ghoul, and the ghoul, he just doesn't care what Lucy has to say. In fact, he walks right over to Roger, flips him over, and begins to cut him up for jerky. Now, this scene right here was amazing to me. Perfect, in fact. It captured so many emotions and tones that the games are known for. But not only that, it doesn't hold your hand like some shows do. Everything is subtle and never explained to you. You know what I mean? Some might see this and then, think that, they might be like, oh, the ghoul guy is a heartless monster. He killed an innocent man. Oh, and now he's carving him up for dinner. But it isn't like that at all. He isn't heartless, he isn't carving him up just for the food. This is just the dark humor kicking in for a tonal shift. Roger was turning, and he knew it. The ghoul knew it too. Nobody really needed to say it. When Roger asks for help, only to be turned down, that was his last and only hope. In that moment, he had hope for salvation, if only a little. When he was turned down, he knew his fate was sealed. In fact, earlier in that scene, he warns our ghoul that he should probably get Lucy to safety because he fears what he might do. Roger was a nice guy. You could tell that in just this brief moment. The ghoul didn't kill him for sport or food or even in fear, but as mercy. He even made Roger think about happy things. Those were his last memory, not the dread he must have been feeling. This gives us a glimpse into the ghoul, that even though he really is different from his other life, the Cooper Howard life, he still cares about things and people, even though he's pushing it down, deep, deep down. However, you aren't really given any time to process any of what I just said because it happens so quickly and then is followed up with the dark humor of the ghoul using Roger for food. I really do believe that this was one of, if not the best scenes in the show, for me at least. Sure, the show has big reveals and fancy shootouts, monsters and set designs and so on, but for me, this scene was as close as perfect as it can be. It really was the moment when the show really cemented my thoughts. I was still holding out some fear within myself. I'd been burned so many times before with video game adaptations. I'm so sick of the days when you'd hear about your favorite game being turned into a film or something, and then the first thing you think of is, that's awesome! I wonder how they're going to slap me in the face this time. The show has lots of little moments like this, and these moments are its strengths. Let's face it, the story in any Fallout game could be a hit or a miss, but it's the small things along your journey that really make the game you're playing amazing. This show understood that, and even though it can be held up by any one of those amazing characters and their journey, it's the combined strength of each point of view and all the small little interactions with others that make this show and the story within fantastic. And I'll stand by that. Nothing is perfect. Nothing. Not even the thing I just spoke about, the little scene. Nothing is perfect. Besides yourself, that is. Listen, I didn't want to say it in front of everybody here, but you're perfect in every single way. And you know what? Don't go telling anybody else, but you're my favorite one. Be proud of that. Be proud. Sorry. And nothing is perfect. There are a few things I wasn't a giant fan of. I didn't hate or dislike it, mind you. It just rubbed me the wrong way, if that makes any sort of sense whatsoever. So once again, because I cannot make this crystal clear enough, I don't hate or dislike anything I'm about to bring up. I love the show. Okay? Okay? Good. Okay. First thing I want to bring up, and this is spoilers once again, I guess. So skip ahead if you like. The timestamps are right below. There is this one scene in the show when Lucy is exploring a vault, Vault 4 to be specific. As she's looking around at things, she lifts up a flag and shows to the camera that it's the NCR flag. And then when she does this, the moment she does, the Fallout theme kicks in. So, first of all, I'm not sure about you, but this gave me goosebumps. Seriously, I had that weird tingling feeling at the back of my head. You know what I mean? Like, it's right where the head and the neck meet. Does anybody else get that? Just me? Okay, I'll move on. The song that kicks in, I've heard a lot of people say is the Fallout 4 theme, and yeah, it is true, but that song, it's just the same theme used in every game since Fallout 3, or at least a variation of it. It's sort of like how the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim has elements of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion song, which has elements of the third game. You get what I'm trying to say here, hopefully at least. But look, it isn't important. The point I wanted to make here is I wished it was like an NCR song. You know, it could have been Shady Sands song or, from Fallout 1 or 2 or something in New Vegas, but it wasn't. And ultimately, yeah. I am fine with it. Truly, I am fine. I do think what they picked was the best choice. Like I said, it gave me goosebumps. It had to grab your attention quickly, and that's exactly what it did. But maybe this is just one of those nerdy, well, actually moments. Do you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say, I don't know. It's kind of contradictory, isn't it? But like, I liked it, but I wished it was different. But it worked, but I kind of wished it was different. I don't know. It's kind of contradictory, but whatever. I did love this moment. I just kind of wish it was, I don't know, an NCR song. I don't know. I'm just gonna end it right there and move on. The second thing, while on the topic of music, no Inon Zur. I never quite understand why this happens in adaptations. Maybe composing for film or TV is different from games. I don't know. It just upsets me ever so slightly. But the music is good, and it did have elements of all the games at least. I'm sure it did. I'm like 90% sure. I heard stuff from the first game all the way to the fourth. So, yes, it does have good music. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it just didn't have Inon Zur composing. So maybe he was helping. I have no idea. I'm just saying, I don't know why this is a thing. But anyway, speaking of people not being there, no Ron Perlman. That's such a damn shame. I don't know. From the moment the show started to the moment it ended, I was sitting there being like, oh, now he's gonna appear. There he is. You know what I mean? Like, but he didn't, and I don't know. It was a shame, you know. But hey, listen, if he didn't want to, you know, if they asked him and he said, "Nah, I'm good," hey, that's perfectly fine. You know, if that's his wish, I'll stand by that. But you got to admit, it would have been cool to see him as like a cameo character, maybe like a vendor or a raider, I don't know, just something, anything. It would have been funny. Also, none of the voice actors are here. That would have been funny. I would have laughed. I would have just laughed my butt off entirely if I had heard one of the voice actors from the games say something from those games. Do you know what I mean? However, none of that happened, so that's a bit of a shame. Also, I am shocked. Shocked! Well, maybe not that shocked. That Todd Howard didn't have some sort of cameo. I mean, maybe he did and I missed it, but still, for some reason, I thought he would just leap at the chance to be some background character or something. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. There was one scene in the show, this is not a spoiler, but there's one scene where, like, a vendor is offering Lucy? It was either Lucy or Maximus, one of them. Like, the vendor's like, hey, would you like some food? For some reason, I would have thought that would have been a perfect Todd Howard cameo. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's all done up and stuff, and he's like, hey, would you like some, you know, Bub's iguana bits? Would you like some of that? I don't know. I just think that would have been funny. Maybe he is in the show, like I said, but I didn't notice him. But anyway, at the end of the day, it probably would have called too much attention to the show. You know, like a sore thumb, but oh well. And there are two things that I am going to lump together with another slight spoiler warning. So once again, skip ahead if you need to. We get to see the origin of the Vault Boy thumbs up. And we also get confirmation on who dropped the bombs and the reasons for it. Now, I already hear you clicking on the dislike button and frantically typing, but please just give me a second to explain, okay? I'll make it quick. I don't mind the thumbs up thing so much. In fact, I thought it was rather funny. It actually makes a heck of a lot of sense the longer and longer I thought about it. Of course, Vault-Tec marketed the heck out of a Hollywood actor. Hell, there's even a scene discussing the capitalism of it and how actors are just selling out and so on and so forth. The whole world of Fallout is a bit of satire, so again, it all makes sense. Though I personally, this is just me, I personally would have preferred it hadn't been shown. Like, I didn't want, like, hey, this is it, and they're like, hey, that's really great. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of just wish that hadn't been a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wish they would have, like, shown him, like, a concept design of what they wanted, and then he does he's like, oh yeah, I can do that, and that's it. That's all. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it. I didn't whatever. Please remember that. Remember that before you go leaving a comment. The second thing is the bombs. All right, I get it. I understand it. I know why they did this, but in my eyes, it doesn't matter who the hell dropped the bombs. Sure, it does, I mean, it was heavily hinted at in the games, but it was fun never really getting confirmation, like hard confirmation. Some people say the US did it, some people say China, some people say Vault-Tec did it, and others say aliens did it. But it doesn't and never has mattered. That was never the point. The point was, the world got greedy and the world ended. That was it. War never changes. again, for the millionth time, I don't dislike or hate actually saying who did it. I would just rather it never be revealed. This is the only thing in the entire show that I ever did come close to actually disliking, but I never did dislike it, just really close. It's the only thing in the show. But in the end, I did have to tell myself that it doesn't matter, because does it ruin the show? No. Does it ruin Fallout? No. Does it ruin any of the games or my memories of them? No. Not even the slightest. It doesn't matter. The show needed that moment. It needed the hard-hitting fact, and heck, it even plays a critical role for one of the characters, so in the end, it's fine. I just wish it would have been left ambiguous. The final thing I want to bring up is the lack of creatures. I know that this is just the fanboy in me being a greedy little piggy, but I was hoping to see more of the creatures of this world. In fact, I thought that there were going to be more, but it was actually a trick. I'm going to spoil this, but if you've seen the trailers, you've already seen the creature I'm about to talk about, and that is the Gulper. Now, when I was watching the trailer, I actually thought that this was just a mutated axolotl monster. I love axolotls. By the way, did you even notice my watermark down in the bottom right-hand screen? See? It's a little axolotl me. Wee. Cute, huh? Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, the Gulper. Okay, so in this show, one of the creatures that... Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it appears rather frequently. Like really frequently, but it was the Gulper. Like I said earlier, I thought that this was just some brand new creature based on an axolotl, like entirely new to the Fallout franchise. But no, it just turns out it's a different variety of Gulper. That or they redesigned it entirely. But the point is, it's a different variety of Gulper. At first, I was a little bit upset, but then it hit me because... Yeah, of course, there are different types of Mirelurks, different types of ants, and so on, so why not a different type of Gulper, you know what I mean? Still, I really wished I could have seen more of the monsters. There really wasn't that many, I think. This is just off the top of my head. I think there was... 1, 2, 3... I don't know if a feral ghoul counts. 4? No. Was there actually 4? I think there might be. I might have. Doesn't matter. I might be wrong, but I think there were just 4 creatures in the show. But doesn't matter. Those were just my nitpicks. There were a few things more, but honestly, it doesn't matter in the slightest. None of these things do matter. Like I said, I keep repeating over and over and over and over and over again. None of these issues I have impact the story for me. They don't change my feelings. I don't dislike or hate anything I just talked about because I loved what I was watching so much. There was one thing, however, that did make me raise an eyebrow, and it was the date of an event happening. But I mean, look, that can just be written off as an error, or maybe they really are doing something, something more with it. Who knows? Who cares? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And again, I could just personally have the date wrong. I'm not a hardcore Fallout lore expert. I don't know. It was just something that appears on a blackboard, I think. Lucy, I'm not going to spoil it, but Lucy's looking at something and they're showing the dates of events. And then I was like, I don't think that date works. A year later? Maybe, but I'm not quite sure because that would contradict something in another Fallout game. And I could be wrong. I'm not going to say what it was, just in case I am wrong or I am right. I just don't want to spoil it. I could be wrong. But anyway, like I said, it doesn't matter. It could just be like a set design mistake. It's fine. It's fine. So those were some of my nitpicks. I still love the show, but those were just my nitpicks. But what did I like about the show? What really stood out to me? Well, let's find out. Aside from pretty much, well, everything in the show, what actually stood out to me? Well, a few things actually. And rather than save the best for last, let me talk about what really stood out to me from the moment the show started. And that is the set design. Holy moly! Each location, each character, each building, clothes, weapon, background items, everything was perfect. It was perfect. This wasn't one of those live action adaptations when you look at it and go, oh, well, that just feels like cheap cosplay. No, it looks perfect. Whoever was in charge of the set design understood their assignment big time. Like I said, going into this show, I did have my fears. But as the show started up, those fears started melting away. I won't spoil anything, but it doesn't matter what time period the show is set in, be it the current Wasteland or before the bombs fell. Everything looks exactly how it should. Everything looks like the games come to life, specifically Fallout 4 come to life. Even if this show was 90% a failure, and I was up here telling you how terrible the show is and how they didn't play Fallout or understand it, the one thing I could tell you is great is the set design. That's how good it is. That's how perfect it is. Nothing is clean. You know, the vault's excluded, of course. Nothing matches. Everything is broken, rusted, and falling apart. And what's even better is a lot of this is practical effects. Yeah, okay, sure. There is CG all over the place, but, well, especially with the creatures and gore, but things like the power armor from the Brotherhood of Steel, some of the locations, that's real. I'm so sick of seeing actors clearly standing in a green room and they're just talking to a CGI character when in reality they're just talking to a tennis ball on a stick. It really bugs me. It really does. I don't know why. They could have totally cut corners as well and CGI'd the ghoul, but they didn't. That's all practical effects. That's prosthetics all over the face. Well, aside from the missing nose, I'm not really sure how many actors would be like, yeah, look, I really look the part, but I'm not really feeling the part. I don't really feel like a ghoul, So let's actually chop my nose off and let me get fully immersed into the role. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I could go on, but truthfully, I'm actually struggling to find the right words to praise the set design. The whole point I'm trying to make here is, believe me when I tell you, you won't be disappointed by the set design. This really is a Fallout game come to life. The next thing I want to talk about is the acting in the show. Once again, fantastic across the board. Everybody went above and beyond. No cheesy scene chewing or an actor just doing it for the paycheck alone. At least I don't think so. Even if they were, they did a great job. Each and every single person gave it their all, and it does show. However, there are a few that stand above the rest, and while I won't go into every single one of them, I will give a shout out to Walton Goggins. I'll level with you here, I haven't actually seen many things with him in it, and quickly browsing his IMDb, I've maybe only seen about 3 or 4 things he was even in. Apparently he was in a Wing Commander game as well. A game that I have played, Wing Commander, I think it was Wing Commander 4. I have played Wing Commander 4, but I don't remember him being in it. Doesn't matter. I mean, that was a long time ago, but still, I've only seen maybe 3 or 4 things with him in it. But that doesn't change how incredible his performance was. He is essentially playing 2 very different roles here in the show. The first is Before the Bums, the happy, rich Hollywood star Cooper Howard, and the second, of course, being the, over 200-year-old, bitter, grizzled, hardcore bounty hunter, the Ghoul. He never gives out his name. I don't even think people call him the Ghoul. I think that's just the name the show gives him. I could be wrong. Doesn't matter. Regardless of how different the two personalities are, Walton pulls them off flawlessly. I was deeply impressed by his performance, and it was a huge highlight for me. Again, I need to stress that everybody did a wonderful job in the show. A lot of the cast and crew were mostly people I had just never seen before. But for the few that I did know about, like Kyle MacLachlan, they did a stellar job. Although there was one actor, and it isn't his fault, mind you, but there was just one actor who took me out of the experience fully, like 100%, and made me be like, oh, yeah, of course, I'm watching a show, This isn't a spoiler at all. The actor was Chris Parnell. Now, I'd wager a lot of you probably have no idea who that is, but if you're like me, you do know him from a lot of comedy films and TV shows. But I'll wager you probably all know him best as Jerry from Rick and Morty or Cyril from the TV show Archer. It's just his voice. The voices he does in those shows, that's just his normal voice. So he plays a character in this show, and each time he was on screen, I was like sucked out instantly. It was just, it's not his fault in the slightest, and it didn't ruin anything, but it did make me be like, oh yeah, of course, that's right. I'm watching Fallout TV show on Amazon. You know what I mean? Does anybody else have that kind of a thing? That aside, I once again must praise the acting here. Everybody pulled off their roles and should be 100% proud of the work they did, especially the extras. I never feel like the extras get enough praise for what they do. They give life to the world. So a big shout out to the extras in the show. You did a fantastic job. And if in the extremely unlikely event you actually are an extra who worked on the show, I'd love to hear about your experience, assuming, that is, you're allowed to talk about your experience. And if you are, please let me know who you are, who you played, and what filming was like the day you were there, or the days you were there. I can't be the only person who's interested in hearing what you have to say, so please, feel free. If you're allowed to, of course. So far, we've talked about set design and acting, but what's next? Well, Easter eggs and/or references, depending on how you want to look at it. There is a whole lot of Fallout in Fallout, lovely little nods and so on. So many, in fact, that I actually had a hard time paying attention to what was being said because I was so focused on looking at the background details. You've got everything from surface level stuff like Sugar Bombs and Nuka-Cola to deeper cuts like Mr. Pebbles, my own favorite poster in Fallout, as well as references to some of the vaults you've been to before in the games or ones that you know from the games, and things like dates and events and so on and so forth. I could sit here for like a solid hour just talking about the things that I noticed, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to. There are smarter people out there than I, and besides, half the fun is watching the show and pointing at the screen and being like, oh, hey, I know that, you know what I mean? That's what I was doing anyways. What I will say is that there are a lot of references specifically for Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4. Possibly even 76, but my memory on that game is extremely hazy at best, so I'm just going to say that there was Fallout 76 stuff in there, but take that with as a grain of salt. I didn't spot too many nods to the first two games, and the ones that I did were spoilers. One I actually had to do a double take on. Like, I had to stop, pause the show, and be like, am I misremembering that, or is that correct? And again, it's a spoiler, but it was a number that appears on screen, which is 10/10/97, which is the original release date for Fallout, a post-nuclear role-playing game. The 10th of October, 1997. And when I spotted that and got confirmation, it made me smile. I don't doubt for any second that a fan of Fallout, especially if you know more than I do, which is probably like 90% of you, you're going to go on a bit of an Easter egg hunt while watching this show. Listen, the truth is, I loved a whole lot about this show. And sadly, a lot of the things that I enjoy are somewhat spoilery. And even though I know how a lot of you feel about spoilers, I personally want to avoid them. Because I do know a lot of people in my day-to-day life that haven't watched this show just yet. So, assuming they're watching this video, hi to the people that I know. Don't worry, I didn't spoil anything. So, yeah. The show really is wonderful. And there is a lot to love. I think a lot of people will agree with me on that, and while I could sit here going on and on and on and on, I feel like I just end up repeating myself. So let's just skip on over to my final thoughts and sum this baby up, because it's been going for way longer than I thought it would. It's honestly refreshing to see something done right. It is great to have your fears washed away and have your expectations blasted away and be surprised. That was this show for me. Like I said earlier, I was more or less hot off the heels of the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Film. It's no secret how questionable the quality of that film is. I won't go into details about my feelings on it. Let's just say it isn't the best thing since sliced bread. And going from that to this, well, that is the best thing since sliced bread. And sliced bread is amazing. Have you ever tried sliced bread? Man, it is... You gotta try it sometime. You'd be selling your whole family to a group of super mutants for dinner for just another piece of sweet, sweet sliced bread. Now, I was going to start my entire video game film series of videos with the Super Mario Bros. Movie and work my way through the years. And heck, I wasn't even going to cover TV shows. Not at all. But after watching this show and seeing how far we've come since 1993, I wanted this show to represent the gold standard of what an adaptation should be. I want you to know what's great before seeing what's terrible. That's how much of an impact this show had on me. Nothing is perfect, like I've said over and over and over again. This show isn't perfect, but what perfect is and means to different people is of course subject to change. But to me, this show gets it right. It gives you a lot, but never enough. You'll always be wanting more, and that's a good thing. Seeing the success of this show gives me hope. Hope that it will continue. Hope that it will get even better. Hope that, someday I'll be allowed on the show as an extra. Seriously, Amazon or Bethesda or whomever, just give me a call. I'm a very successful YouTuber, don't you know? Heck, do you want to know what this show did for me? It actually made me realize that rad roaches aren't just a joke. They're dangerous, especially in a group. This show actually brings that up and all the ways that they're a threat, and I think it's something a lot of us just forget while just mowing them down in a Fallout game. How many times have you walked through a building, had one of those little buggers pop up, and you've just rolled your eyes and just walked right past them, They're not even worth the bullet to you. Well, in this show, there's a scene, well, actually there's two of them, and you'll be like, oh, Oh, yeah. Okay, Butch's mother in Fallout 3 was 100% screwed. She was dead long before I even got there. That's what this show did for me. It made me have a deeper appreciation for rad roaches. After watching this show, I did find myself wanting to return to Fallout again, which I'm pretty sure is what Bethesda wanted. It stoked the flames of passion. In fact, just the other day, I was on SteamDB. For those of you who don't know what SteamDB is, it's like you can go to that site, check how many people are playing a game, check the ratings. I honestly think it's a better search engine than what Steam offers. Like in that, doesn't matter. The point is, I was on SteamB, and I noticed that Fallout was trending again, and not just one of the games, all of them. I'm kicking myself because I didn't get a screenshot of it, but right now on screen is the screenshot that I did get while, writing this script. It shows 7 Fallout games on the trending side and one in the most played. When I went there, it was Fallout 1, Fallout 2, 3, New Vegas, 4, Fallout 76, Shelter, and Tactics, if you can believe it. It blew my mind. I guess I wasn't the only person who was inspired to go back and play the games. But Tactics? Shelter? Okay. Hey man, you do you. Fallout means a lot to different people. Each person gets something out of it. What that something is will vary, but what doesn't vary is the love. I'd wager you love Fallout. You love the world, the lore, the music, the people, that feeling you get exploring the Wasteland. This show will give you that same feeling as well. Heck, maybe it's just me, but sometimes this show will go slightly off the plot and focus on something smaller, and that made me laugh because it made me notice that I was thinking to myself, oh, that's exactly how I play Fallout. I'll do the main story up to a certain point, then get totally sidetracked doing side missions, and then come back to the main story and maybe go off again. You know what I mean? This really does feel like a Fallout 4.5 or Fallout 5. It fits right in there with those, the Fallout 4. It fits in there. It's such a strange thing to experience, like seeing Fallout, but as a show. I don't know. It just feels like a game, but not, if that makes sense. If you've watched a lot of my videos, especially the Fallout series I did, you'll know how I never try to steer you wrong, I will show you what I like and what I dislike, and I try to be as open and honest as I possibly can be. That's why I hope you'll not only listen to what I have to say, but trust me as well. I believe if you agree with 70% of what I have to say in any of those videos that I've covered, you will probably agree with my opinion on this show. The Fallout TV show is good. Amazon actually did it right. A lot of people worked really hard, and heck, I'd even say a lot of the people working on the show were fans, because only a true fan would cram, no pun intended, as much lore and fan service as this show does. If you were on the fence about this show, then please, just trust me, just this once. Watch the show however you can. Let your guard down, relax, and just enjoy the show and the adventure it takes you on across its wasteland. I loved this show. I really did. Like I said, it's given me hope for a brighter future of video game adaptations. I haven't felt this way in a long time. A long time. This show didn't make me wish for a nuclear winter, and for that, I'm glad. Truly glad. Now, if you don't mind, I've got to take off because I've got a little business with a big iron on my hip and go reinstall all the Fallout games and play them again. Modded this time. But not only that, but Tactics, which will be coming out relatively soon, and Fallout 76 as well. So if you do so happen to see me running around what was it? I can't even remember what it was. It wasn't the capital Wasteland, was it? The Commonwealth? I can't remember where Fallout 76 takes place. I can't remember. But running across Fallout 76's Wasteland, if you do see me out there, say hi. The only game I will not be covering is Shelter, though. No. I did my time with that game, and I will never touch it again. See, look, here's the proof. I'm not proud of myself, and I don't want to talk about it. So please, take care of yourself. Take great care of yourself, in fact. And until next time... Oh, actually, before I forget, I almost forgot this time. I almost forgot. Let me give a special shout out to Family Dog, Inon Zur, David Welch, TJ, and Jack. Aaron... I can't believe I almost forgot. Aaron Nelson, Amelia, Pizza Rolls, Adam, The Elder Irish, and two new people. Miami Fred, very nice, and The Rog. So thank you to all of you for going through the great joining and joining the channel. It really does mean a lot to me. And as a special thanks, since I almost forgot, I'll sing a little of Big Iron for you. So prepare your ears for intense ear bleeding. It's yeah, just prepare for that. Peace out, pals. To the town of our free hero, a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared ask his business, no one dared to make a slip. For the stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip. A big iron on his hip. Hope you enjoyed that.